A very good evening to you and welcome to CoreTV News. And this hour, I am Nena Nyama. A federal high court in Abuja summoned the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, to appear in court on Monday to explain the security siege on the Abuja residence of former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki. Justice Adeni Ademola issued a summons following complaints by Dasuki's lawyers that a court order following the former NSA to travel for medical treatment has been flouted by operators of the Department of State Service. Prosecution counsel Shuaibu Labaran had earlier declined to confirm the presence of DSS in Dasuki's Asokoro Abuja home, but admitted that he was being investigated in another money laundering matter. Justice Ademola, who was not comfortable with the violation of his order, told the prosecution counsel to inform his client to learn how to respect and obey a valid court order.
To draw the attention of the court to the fact that the orders have not been obeyed. But the court, in its wisdom, has now invited the Attorney General of the Federation, being a very serious issue on disobedience of court order. So we say no more until when the Attorney General, who is a very responsible officer of the law, will be here.
President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in 16 new permanent secretaries into the Federal Civil Service. The appointment came in the wake of the retirement of 17 permanent secretaries from the Civil Service. At the swearing-in, President Buhari cautioned the senior civil servants against actions that could denigrate their offices. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has details of this story.
The swearing-in of 16 out of the 18 newly appointed permanent secretaries is coming a day after the inauguration of the Federal Executive Council and 2 days after the retirement of 18 permanent secretaries. After administering the oath of office on the new permanent secretaries, President Buhari charged the new appointees to get down to work immediately by assisting government in achieving said goal for the country.
As you are aware, the responsibilities bestowed on you are so enormous that the success or otherwise of the government will largely depend on your competence, ability and capacity to discharge your duties most effectively and efficiently.
The president also cautioned the new permanent secretaries against indifference, incompetence and corruption.
This administration will not condone any excesses, indifference, incompetence, and corrupt practices in any form. Permanent secretaries are therefore advised to note these words of caution and disseminate them to all civil servants accordingly.
As the new permanent secretaries assume office, political watchers expect them to breathe life into the articulated objective of the federal government in their public service. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News.
Supreme Court has stopped the trial of Senate President Bukola Saraki at a Code of Conduct Tribunal on charges of forced declaration of assets. The case initiated by the federal government against Senator Saraki was put on hold pending the hearing and determination of his appeal challenging the legality of his trial at the tribunal. The Supreme Court's decision came after Saraki's lead counsel, Joseph Daudu, had argued for a stay of precedence at the tribunal, which the prosecution counsel, Rotimi Jacobs, did not initially accept. Correspondent Basilu Kafo has more in this report presented from our studios.
With the order of Supreme Court on Thursday, the trial of the Senate President will not continue until the Apex Court determines his appeal. Saraki is challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal, which had earlier sanctioned his trial for charges bordering on false declaration of assets. At the hearing of his application for stay of proceedings, Prosecution Counsel Rotimi Jacobs, who had earlier objected to the Supreme Court granting the application, later made a U-turn. This was after his argument that Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 has removed the inherent powers of any court including the Supreme Court, to grant a stay of proceedings in a criminal matter. But in a unanimous decision, Justice Fabiyi-led 5-man panel ordered the proceedings at the CCT to stop. He also gave 7 days each to both parties to file and exchange briefs of their arguments on the substantive appeal.
The Supreme Court wanted all the parties to, once I could read the demeanor of their lordships, that they were minded for parties to stay action pending the time that the appeal will be decided. So, and they are minded to grant accelerated hearing. So that is what happened. The court granted accelerated hearing and then asked parties to file processes.
The Apex Court, however, announced that a date for hearing of substantive appeal will be communicated to parties as soon as it is fixed.
Benue State Governor Samuel Otom is convinced that the appointment of Audu Ogbe as Minister of Agriculture will accelerate the development of the sector. The governor said this in reaction to the allotment of portfolios to the new cabinet members by President Muhammadu Buhari. Otom, who himself is a former minister, argued that Ogbe is fully equipped to turn agriculture into a major foreign exchange earner in Nigeria.
Benue State is the food basket of this nation, and Audu Ogbe is known for his passion for agriculture and beyond that, agribusiness. And we believe that with Audu Ogbe as minister, Benue State will collaborate with him very well, and Nigeria will have dividends of democracy through agriculture. We believe that we are endowed with the capacity to deliver and sustain food security for our nation, even beyond our nation.
The newly inaugurated Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has charged staff of the ministry to come forward with whatever they know about the challenges in the sector. Fashola, who took over control of the ministry after the inauguration of the federal cabinet, said he wants to know if the problems bedeviling the sector are systemic or man-made. The minister, who explained that his thoughts are on bringing together processes of all the ministries under his supervision, assured the minister's leadership of his willingness to learn from them since they've been on the job for a long time. He added that he's also interested in harnessing the available human resources and physical assets because Nigerians are anxiously waiting for improved power supply nationwide. Earlier, the Minister of State, Power, Works and Housing, Mustafa Shehuru, said a detailed ministerial briefing document should be provided as a guide for proper take-off. For a while now, there has been a massive agitation on the reduction of the salary structure of senators and members of the House of Reps. A civil activist, Eze Onyekpere, is demanding a 40% reduction in the allowances of lawmakers in the National Assembly. Onyekpere, who is also the Director, Center for Social Justice, was speaking at a public lecture on cost of governance organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress in Abuja. He says the allocation and expenditure of the legislature is not only frivolous, but also appalling. Our correspondent, Basi Aye, has more in this report.
The one-day public lecture at the instance of organized labor is with a view to demanding a cut in the budget of the federal legislature. It is therefore not surprising that the lecture began with a history of the budget of the National Assembly from 1999 to date. According to the guest speaker, there is no legal justification for the baseless and epileptic increase in the budget.
The overall goal and objectives of what we did, because we went to study to find out what exactly is the test of things in the cost of running the legislature. We looked at their budgets from 1999-2000 up till the present day and see whether it was moving up or moving down. We examined the parameters that were taken into consideration by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission when it reviewed the salaries of political office holders, including the legislators, in the year 2007. We also looked at the people they consulted and those parameters that they took into consideration. We looked at what happens in other jurisdictions, specifically in South Africa, in Ghana. We looked at what happens in Australia, Germany, US, Britain. And we were able to arrive at some conclusions which showed, through empirical research, that what we are suggesting is not just what we picked off the shelf, or not what we decided to talk simply because we can talk, but because we are running a system that is not in tandem with how other people who are very reasonable.
He made a case for a review of the Political, Public and Judicial Office Holders Act of 2008 to accommodate the reduction in allowances in line with current economic realities. The rights activists argue that steps must be taken to cancel the retroactive effect of such reviews.
Why we are focusing on them, to say, if they decide to get things right, Nigeria will move in the right direction. And this is particularly more important today that we have the mainstay of our national economy, which is crude oil, plummeting from the heights of over $100 per barrel to what we have today, which is about $40-something per barrel.
The legislative reforms he suggested include a reduction in the number of committees in both chambers of the National Assembly. Basia Ye, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, on Thursday fired pot shots at the ruling All Progressive Congress and President Muhammadu Buhari. Its members used the platform of PDP's National Conference in Abuja to accuse the APC of not acting fairly in its dealings. Jamil Afegboa reports.
Unlike in the past, when the party's events were held in much larger venues, members of the People's Democratic Party converged on a relatively smaller venue, an indication that it is no longer the ruling party. Declaring the conference open, chairman of the organizing committee, Raymond Dokwesi, asked members to learn from its past mistakes so as to reposition the party.
The general elections dealt our party a big and reversible blow. It is one thing to suffer such a setback at the polls anywhere in the world, but more significant and quality is how quickly you learn from your mistakes and effect the requisite adjustments necessary to restore your winning ways.
Acting PDP chairman Uche Secondus asked members to relive the ideals and values of the founding fathers in bringing out a formidable agenda.
It is also a forum for reliving the ideals, values, and inspiration of the founding fathers of our party. It is the ideal platform for articulating and marketing the roadmap for the way forward for our party.
In their addresses, Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu and Ondo State Governor Olusegun Mimiko landed subtle attacks on the APC for not fulfilling its promises to the Nigerian people. They also spoke about what they see as selective justice.
No campaign promise, I repeat, no promise made by the present APC administration has been kept. They promised to scale up the exchange rate of our currency to a naira to $1. Have they kept this promise? They promised to bring back the cheaper gas in 3 months. Have they brought back the cheaper gas? They promised to pay 5,000 to 25 million unemployed youths. Have they paid the Kobo youth? They promised free meal to our children in schools. Have they given any?
What is due to the goose is good for the gander. And we are, at this juncture, appealing to Mr. President. We believe that Mr. President has no hand in it, but he must appeal to the little Hitlers around his government to release the Kogi bailout fund now. The Kogi bailout fund must be released now to prove that Mr. President can actually rise above partisan politics.
Problems within the ranks of the party had forced many members to leave, but some surviving members believe that all will be well.
We have a lot of our great people, so we have to sort of like start working on them, making sure that we all come together, because it's really, politics is a game of numbers. A lot of people were really aggrieved, and for good reasons. So we have to make sure that the mistakes that were made in the past won't be repeated again.
There can't be a largest party like this that won't be any crisis. But the process that leading to the candidates in our party, we discovered that there's a little problem on it. And we have agreed on that. We have identified that problem, and we are going to resolve. And that is why we are returning the party back to the youth. That whoever that want to represent this party in any elective position should go back to the people and let people identify with you, identify yourself with the people. And if people say you are the one, they are the one, and they will give it back the ticket. And that is why we want to identify with the popular people for popular candidates.
The conference was called to re-strategize and rebuild the party ahead of 2019. Party faithfuls from the 36 states and the FCT were in attendance. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The All Progressive Congress, APC, has accused opposition People's Democratic Party of defeat-induced impatience. National Secretary of the APC, Mai Bala Boni, made the accusation in Abuja. He said opposition political parties, especially the PDP, has grown increasingly impatient because they yet to overcome the hangover of the electoral defeat. Bala Boni said this while responding to a statement by the PDP. The party advised the PDP to face its rebranding pursuit instead of running down the performing government. We'll take a break now, return with more stories. Just stay with us.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to your husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Also, some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man. We don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Glad to have you back. You're still watching CoreTV News and this hour. For more of the news stories, join us on the social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV Live Space News. The Imo State government has cut down the number of ministries in the state from 22 to 13. Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha disclosed this after a meeting with all the permanent secretaries at the government house in Owerri, the Imo State capital. He said the new development in the state civil service is part of the plan to restructure the civil service and make it more efficient and effective. Governor Okorocha also noted that due to the dwindling revenue allocation, the state government would need to cut down on cost of governance and look inwards so as to increase the internally generated revenue of the states. As the December 19 local government elections date beckons in Ekiti State, the State Independent Electoral Commission and the All Progressive Congress have once again taken themselves to the cleaners. This is coming as it becomes clearer by the day that all other opposition parties will boycott the forthcoming poll, even as the Commission vows to go on with the election, even if the PDP will be the sole party to contest. Our correspondent Rashid has more in this report.
Since the constitution of the Ekiti State Independent Electoral Commission saddled with the conduct of local council elections, various issues have been raised by opposition parties. While the All Progressives Congress alleged partisanship on the part of the commission's chairman, going as far as taking him to court, the commission seems undeterred. It says the polls will go ahead even if only the PDP will contest. The commission added that conducting elections with a single party is in order.
A supervisor for an election must be people of proven integrity and must be non-partisan, But in this case, the Ekiti SEC, the Fayoshe government SEC, is PDP SEC, not independent SEC.
PDP is the only party that have shown interest. There's no electoral law which says if there's one political party that show up for an election, the election should not be conducted.
Despite the boycott and the pending court case, XCX says the election will go ahead, but the APC insists that it will not participate.
Barring any odds, and by the grace of God, local government election will go on 19th of December 2015.
We cannot participate under such a biased body, under such a politically constituted body.
With the December 19th date drawing closer by the day, the days ahead will surely bring more dramas. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
The United States is facilitating a 2-day workshop for government spokesperson in northern Nigeria. This, according to the organizers, is with a view to ensuring effective government media operation as well as clear and timely information to the public about government policies. The training workshop is in response to a request by the presidency to the American authorities. Our correspondent Amina Nebi has more in this report presented from our studios. We sincerely apologize for that. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. As Nigerians count down to November 16, the proposed commencement date for increase in electricity tariff, Electricity Consumers Protection Firm has staged a dramatic protest in Lagos. The protesters want government to intervene and stop the proposed increment. Our correspondent Sarah Yeku has details in this report.
It was a dramatic protest organized by the Electricity Consumers Protection Forum, which comprises residents from different parts of Lagos. The converging point was Ikeja Underbridge, from where they marched along the Awolowo Road to the Ikeja Electricity Office in Alausa. Although the march costed some commuters their time, as the protesters took the 3-lane road, causing traffic. The protesters later converged at the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, where they made their complaints. The response from the spokesman of the disco company didn't, however, go down well with them.
What we are trying to tell you right now is that we are tired of your sharp practices. We are tired of your hanky-panky. We are tired of your armed robbery with pen. We are tired with your authority stealing. We are paid more than what the landlord is collecting from us every month.
Fixed charges, we are tired of fixed charges.
So thereafter, we are telling you, IKDC, from today, it's either you put your house in order. As you are seeing us here, we represent different streets, different tribes in Lagos State local government from Ibadan, from Abeokuta. We want you to know, as from today,
need to come up with a better, smarter prepaid meter that will be difficult to be bypassed. So we, in a nutshell, we have come up with that, and we have started it. We are installing already. So just to explain the reason for the little delay we experienced, and for the meters, please, I want you to quote me anywhere, anytime. Meter is free.
Dissatisfied by the response of the Ikeja Electricity Company, the protesters marched to the State House of Assembly to submit their petition and spur the House to urgently attend to their pleas. They were received by Honorable Yinka Ogundimu, a member of the State House of Assembly.
I've received the letter and that's your position paper, and your prayers there are 3, and I can assure you that we will move further from just delivery. We make a resolution of the House on this, and we will onward pass it to the necessary quarters, and I believe that things is not going to be the same again. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
The walk to the governor's office took about 4 hours. Agitation rose when the governor did not attend to them. After the long wait, the Permanent Secretary, Chief of Staff, came out to address them on behalf of Akinwumi Ambody.
You are fighting the cause not only of yourselves as individuals, but the cause of every Nigerian, even including government. And I must tell you that when the letter came, we have seen it. We can't deny seeing letters. Thank you, our comrade. This is government that is transparent and fair to you. Yes. We can't deny seeing letters. But when letters are seen, there are processes and procedures for handling them. Electricity is not the purview of a state government. Even when we spend so much to generate power, we still throw it back to the national grid. We throw it back to the national grid because it's an exclusive responsibility, the issue of power. But we are lucky only yesterday, our former governor was named the Minister of Power. Yes,
Expectations are high with the appointment of former Governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, as the Minister of Power, Works and Housing. Change is imminent. Sarah Ayuku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Domestic violence against women has increasingly assumed an alarming dimension, with stories on violence against women and even men now a common occurrence. This comes in different forms such as rape, molestation, battery and corporal punishment, which could be physical, mental, sexual and emotional. This has also led to an increasing difficulty by the society to address the attendant's effects. Our correspondent Nettie Laberry has more in this report presented from our studios.
The outcry by non-governmental organizations and other concerned women voices over the alleged domestic violence against Hestiana Thomas, a medical doctor, is getting louder and louder, drawing attention to the dangers most Nigerian women face. The concerns of women organizations like this is also focused on the rising incidences of rape, sexual assaults and abuses, as well as sexual molestations of minors by male adults, who most times are relatives or neighbors.
What domestic defines it? It means violence that happens in the domestic arena between people who are in a familial relationship. The second one is that's been attributed to the Nigerian Medical Association and the Nigerian Medical Women Association, and also our own family, that she was a psychiatric patient and was suicidal, and as such she committed suicide. And we are saying to both, where is the proof?
Domestic violence against women and children in Nigeria has become more prevalent. It's become more daring. It's become more in your face because there aren't enough consequences for the perpetrator, for the person who has committed these violent acts. If your life is at risk in your home that is supposed to be your sanctuary, where are you safe? You're not safe outside.
Two apostles in the temple of law
The National Investors Commission has again warned state governments against interfering in the activities of the governing councils of investors. This, according to the NUC Executive Secretary Julius Okoje, is because the Commission is no longer prepared to pay attention to investors that do not follow laid-down rules and regulations. He said this while receiving the Abia State Governor Okeze Ikpeazu, who was on a courtesy visit to the NUC headquarters.
The governors are humble enough to tell us, and or not. Others will just say they have gone to their state house of assembly and they establish an institution. To have the very big setbacks from such approach. Kogi State University at some point failed all their programs. In fact, they closed down. The governor ran there, what do we do? I say, you say you can start institutions, but we know how it is to be run.
At their state, naturally, we have a calling for trade and commerce, and it's incontrovertible to say that Abia is the SME capital of Nigeria, but there's no doubt that we are good in what we are. do with our hands. We make good shoes, we make good dresses. We can also do a lot of welding and produce things with our hands. And so we want to see if we can leverage that to drive our economy in the days ahead. Therefore, there's need to provide critical middle level manpower that can drive the machines that we intend to bring in our effort to automate shoemaking, garment making, and all that.
Still on education, parents, teachers and students of the Federal Science and Technical College Elisha, Osun State staged a massive protest against the poor living condition at the school, which is one of the unity schools located in the state. The intervention of the police prevented a protest which occurred on Wednesday from degenerating into a serious crisis. The protesters were calling on the federal government to remove the principal of the school, Chuks Onwosiri, over his alleged indifference to the plight of the students and teachers. The parents also said they paid for blazers for their children for about 3 years ago, but has still not been given to them. We'll take another break now, return with more stories. To stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, our 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back in business. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is planning to raise 119.92 billion naira worth of local currency denominated treasury bills with maturities range of 3 months and 1 year on November 18. The CBN says it will issue 32.43 billion naira worth in the 3-month paper, 22.82 billion naira in the 6-month paper, and 64.67 billion naira in the 1-year bill. Using the Dutch auction system, on the short-dated debts have plunged recently due to surging liquidity in the banking system. The 3-month bills closed at 2.62% at the secondary market, 6-month traded at 3.69%, while the 1-year closed at 4.46%. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has ordered Guinness Nigeria PLC to pay 1 billion naira administrative charges for various clandestine violations of NAFDAC rules, regulations and enactments over a long period of time. In a letter addressed to the Managing Director of Guinness Nigeria PLC by the Head, Investigation and Enforcement, NAFDAC, Kingsley Jiofo, the regulatory agency requested for the payment of 1 billion naira administrative charges for infractions such as the distraction activities carried out by the company without authorization and supervision of the agency. MTN's largest stakeholder, the Public Investment Corporation, has called for more employees of the company to resign over the 1.04 trillion naira fine imposed on it by the Nigerian Communications Commission. It made a call 2 days after Sifiso Dagbewa took responsibility for the penalty and resigned as MTN Group's president and chief executive officer. The PIC, which is based in South Africa, said with a huge fine hanging on the MTN Group and its shareholders, the resignation of other employees who were responsible for acts that led to the fine has become necessary. However, the Public Affairs Manager MTN, Chris Maroleng, said the company is not in doubt about Nileko's ability to tackle the fine, saying it believed that the 6 months given to him to act as executive chairman will be successful. And now to the foreign scene. Myanmar's opposition, the National League for Democracy, NLD, has won a landslide election victory. With more than 800 contested seats now declared, officials say Aung San Suu Kyi's party has more than the 2/3 it needs to choose the president, ending decades of military-backed rule. A quarter of seats are automatically held by the military, which means that it remains hugely influential, and under the constitution, Ms. Suu Kyi cannot become president herself. Despite this, the election is seen as the first openly contested poll in Myanmar, also known as Burma, in 25 years. The NLD, however, needs 2 more votes to reach the threshold required for a majority. And finally, Kurdish Peshmerga forces have entered the center of Sinjar after pushing out Islamic State of Iraq and 11 ICU fighters from the northern Iraqi town. An eyewitness disclosed the sporadic burst of gunfire was heard inside Sinjar today as Kurdish fighters filed down the hill, overlooking the town from the north, some with rocket-propelled grenades on their shoulders. Backed by US-led airstrikes, the Kurds cut Sinjar off from the east and west and tested an offensive that could provide critical momentum in efforts to defeat ISIL. The offensive in Sinjar has cut off the ISIL supply lines between the strongholds of Mosul in Iraq and Raqqa in Syria and allowed Sinjar to be reconnected with the rest of northern Iraq. And that's it on CoreTV News on this hour. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Nenna Nyama. Good evening.